Hello, and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunnigan.
And we're going back to 1995 with a manga and an anime that I really actually enjoyed, Gunsmith Cats, which maybe about 2 years ago, I saw the book sort of pop up, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to check these things out. And I got like the first volume or whatever, and I was like, oh yeah, just give me the rest of them. And over the span of a couple of months, I read, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of the original series, which I think technically breaks down to like 8 books. And then there's a secondary series that came out like in the early 2000s, which I want to say is another 4 books, give or take. And because they're like double books, so they're like 400 pages, And then I found it's like, oh, there's an OVA anime. Well, gotta watch that too. And it's only 3 episodes, but it pretty much makes for like the length of like a singular movie. And the kind of cool thing is it's not like it's a OVA just straight based off some of the comic issues or anything like that. It's like, no, it's its own original story and everything like that. And it's one of those ones that it's a really cool story with like fantastic animation in it. Like the animation's like ridiculous, especially like the details on like the guns and the cars and all kinds of stuff. And literally Ryan the other day was like, hey, you want to do this? He's like, I always wanted to watch that Gunsmith Cats thing. And I was like, well, hell yeah, I want to do that. That one's one of my favorites. It literally has become one of my favorite anime books, or manga books, I guess.
Well, it was one of those things I was kind of aware of it, but I totally forgot about it. There's that period back like in the 90s where you had like ADV, manga, a couple other companies that I'm drawing a blank on right now, where you would see the same couple of ads on all the VHSs and DVDs. Remember, Gunsmith Cats was one of them, or you'd see it like at Suncoast or Tower Records or Borders or Barnes & Noble for one that's still around, and you'd just be like this anime that was just, it was there. It was like, I'm sure it's probably good, but I'm not going to lie. When I was younger, I had a little bit of this weird bias of like, you know what, why watch like a real world kind of like non-fantasy anime when you have like action movies? I would watch like a live action movie with, what's the point? Like when I was younger, I just those stupid arbitrary shit you just come up with when you're younger for no real reason. You just do. Like, why would I watch an anime that doesn't have robots or ninjas or like Dragon Ball Z fights? Like, just to be versatile, to mix it up a fucking bit, So, just like, so it was one of those things. Like, plus it was also the time where you like spend like $30 for a VHS. So
yeah, I was gonna say that mostly was the biggest like thing, is that you really could only get like one, so you had to be very picky and choosy back in the day. And you'd buy that VHS and it would be like literally like a half an hour episode you paid $30 for, which in inflation that'd be like $90 a day, just for anybody's point of reference.
Well, it was also sometimes you'd watch a whole season of something on Toonami or whatever, and then you look at the VHSs or the DVDs or whatever. You're like, okay, I'd be very picky about which ones I got. I remember Outlaw Star. Like, I didn't buy Outlaw Star in order. I got like the volume 3 because I already saw the whole series. I liked the later half of the series more. Plus, of course, being like a 14-year-old kid, it's like, dude, there's an episode where they go to like a hot spring planet. Oh, so.
Which that also sounds like something that like out of context, it also sounds like something that like an old man would be like, oh man, there's an episode they go to a hot spring. God, you got to go to the hot spring planet. Like, let me tell you, that's gonna really ease your back and everything like that. Like, he's not even thinking of anything else. He's just thinking about like, oh, it's so relaxing. Like they literally have a guy, like a little boy that brings you a beer while you sit there in that hot springs just relaxing, and then a guy comes out with like a bush and starts beating you on the back. I don't know what, it's some weird Japanese shit, but whatever. I'm there. I'm gonna expose myself.
That old man watches the Outlaw Star Hot Springs Planet episode. He says, what's with all the titties? What get that out of the way. I need something to take my mind off my back. Come on.
Yeah, shit. Like, I'm trying to forget about work right now. Jesus.
This guy's going on some like fucking quest on a hot spring planet to find some magical like bullet shells. Get the fuck out of here. Go to the hot spring planet to relax, not to go like smack around some tits and look for gun shells. What the fuck are you doing?
Shit, didn't you guys have a 12-hour work shift at the factory earlier? What are you doing?
Why am I watching this Japanese cartoon from my grandson's DVD collection? Other question.
Yeah, so it is that one that, like, yeah, once again, you had to be picky and choosy about what you bought, because it is that weird thing that, like, you could buy one VHS back in the day. That's like the equivalent of an entire year's worth of Crunchyroll membership today.
It's crazy when you think about it, but yeah, it is really, it's because they charge the fuck out of those. And part of me thinks because, it was a niche market, so part of me kind of gets it, but another part of me thinks like they were trying to milk the fuck out of this. You know what I mean? But I think it's a little bit half and half. But I remember Gunsmith Cats is one that I was aware of, and you would just see ads for it, and I almost kind of forgot about it. But then out of nowhere, my YouTube algorithm just like brought up some like random fan-made music video of just like a very short one, like a minute and change, of like just lo-fi music with like footage from Gunsmith Cats. I was like, oh yeah, this thing. I totally forgot about this thing. And then I'm looking up, like, of course, it's not streaming on anything, but it is for free all over YouTube. That's one of the things, like, because YouTube, it sometimes can be the worst when it comes to copyright stuff. But then if you wait long enough and it just like no more copyright or whatever, it just becomes like, oh, there is so much just like old school anime and whatnot that I can't find anywhere, just on YouTube. So it's kind of almost kind of like for certain specific things, it's kind of, or even like, I forgot what it was called, but like even like a couple of Sam Peckinpah movies I found fully loaded onto YouTube. The Steve McQueen rodeo one, which I started, but I needed to get back to, anime and Steve McQueen. I know, but like it's one of those things. Like it's like just those things, just like random things you wouldn't expect to find on YouTube. Like, okay, if you wait long enough, it starts popping back up, kind of like the early days of YouTube again.
Yeah, well, and that's what I've kind of come around that, like, YouTube's kind of one of my favorite places to watch stuff, because it's just, a lot of old movies and old anime. It's just freely up there now. And I think it got to the point, there was that period like 10 years ago where the movie companies, they were holding on for dear life. They're like, people are uploading our shit. We're just talking. And then I think they got to the point where they're like, kind of like Spotify, like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, this is just the future. You got to figure out sort of a different way to go about it. And then I think some things kind of get a little bit more savvy, where it's like, you know what, like, we can maybe throw some of our stuff up here, collect the ad revenue. We technically will probably make more money from that, actually, than trying to like scrape, DVD sales and digital copy sales and whatnot, so just fucking let them have it. And, I think also with anime too, of course, there's that weird thing where it's like, well, it's in America now, so your copyright don't matter, Japan, unless it's like Funimation that's pretty much, I think, literally bought the copyright on Dragon Ball Z. Like, I think they did that old school like American thing, like, oh shit, wait a second, these Japanese don't have a good copyright on it. We'll make sure we copyright the American version of everything Dragon Ball Z, so we can catch all that, cash.
So even though Funimation is basically done, they're still collecting a little bit of off Dragon Ball Z now.
Well, I think because Funimation still is. I mean, I know it kind of like merged with everything, but
with Crunchyroll or whatever.
Yeah, but I think it's still kind of like I think Crunchyroll's kind of, I mean, not Funimation as in like the streaming platform, but I think literally all the stuff underneath. Company. Yeah, the dub company part's still under that same banner and everything there. That's why, like, there's a few, like, pretty much it seems like they're like the really popular animes. They get kind of like in there, but all the ones that are kind of like the somewhat forgotten gems, yeah, they're all up on YouTube, and they're in good quality. That's the other thing too, because it used to be back in the day, hey, you get like a 320p like version where it's like, okay, I guess it's free, but it's shit. If I could just buy it, I'd rather see it nice. And nowadays everybody uploads, good copies. No one seems to care, so you can catch up on all this good stuff. And one more thing I was going to say about Gunsmith Cats. In the U.S., it's like, I didn't notice this back in the day, but, Dark Horse, it was one of those ones that they were putting these out for the American versions, because Dark Horse did, like, a good handful of, like, they did all, like, the Lone Wolf and Cub, and, so they brought out... Yeah, they did that. So, like, they definitely were, like, the pioneers in bringing, like, anime out, to, like, an American audience, especially for the fact that, Dark Horse was, like, one of those ones. You could go to, like, the supermarket, and they had Dark Horse comics there. It fit in just literally with, Marvel, DC, Image, and all that kind of stuff. Where, and then, Viz was, like, the one you kind of had to order from, like, the catalogs, or you had to kind of find. It wasn't just, like, you would just go into, like, your local grocery store or find the Hey Kids Comics spinner rack and find some Viz comics.
Well, I think Viz was also like anime and like foreign export specialty, where like Dark Horse, like, we have a corner for that,
Yeah, so Darko's like, hey, we got some Star Wars comics, and then by the way, here's some Gunsmith Cats. You might.
Here's also some Hellboy. Yeah.
Yeah,
And some Lobster Johnson too, if you want that.
So you had those, but yeah, going into Gunsmith Cats, it's one of those ones. It's a really cool story where it's like I remember like in like the special features of like the comic and everything like that. The dude just talks. He's like, I just fucking love 70s and 80s hard boiled, American action movies, and he's like, I just wanted to do that just with my own kind of vibe and whatnot. And that's literally what it gives you. It gives you like a buddy cop, like almost like 48 Hours, even you could say Lethal Weapon or all that stuff, and just says like, here it is, but in a Japanese anime style where you got kind of two hip like girl characters that literally run a gun store called Gunsmith Cats, and they're kind of a mixed match bounty hunters. They sort of work for the police department and so on like that. And here they are. They drive cool muscle cars. In this one here, you got Raleigh, who's the main character. She's got this like Shelby GT 500. So it definitely is like, yeah, we want that specific. Like it's literally almost like Ford must have sponsored it because it's like so damn accurate. Little product placement in there and whatnot. And then there's the second character is Minnie May, who's pretty much, she's like a bomb expert and kind of obsessed with explosives and blowing shit up and whatnot. And she doesn't have her car in this one, but she drives a Fiat 500 in the the manga, which I always think is kind of cool. Because the thing is, it's like, yeah, it focuses really hard on that. And that dude's like, he's like, drawing those cars are such a pain in the ass, but I wanted to make them look so cool, like they were just like literally like a movie.
Yeah, well, I really knew nothing about it going in, other than it was just like it was like two girls, had an emphasis on shootouts, and I saw like a muscle car in the old ad. That's all I knew about it. So going in and just watching the 3 episodes compiled on YouTube, it was kind of like I did get kind of like you like all the 70s and 80s hard-boiled stuff definitely comes to mind, but given when this thing came out, it wouldn't surprise me if they also pulled a little bit more inspiration from like John Woo style shootouts, because there's also that little extra hint of kind of like stylization and thinking things out more, because I've never read the manga, and watching this makes me want to read it. And also the idea of it being like a separate story. So it's not like, because that's sometimes the thing when you read a manga. You read a manga, then you watch the anime. Like, this is really good, but I already kind of read this part, or I saw this part. I just want to get to the part I haven't got to yet. Where this is like, it'd be a new experience all around. So now I definitely want to check out the manga. But a lot of thought even kind of goes into like the choreography of the shootouts, of like, or the way they get out of it. Like how there's at some point when they were like cornered and like they have their arms up to the backs to the bad guys, and they're wearing like sunglasses. They turn around and they have like, one of them has like a flashbang grenade like hanging from their mouth, and they drop it, and then that's kind of how they get out of there. And in the tussle of things, they get their guns out. So there's like a lot of like thought that kind of goes into it that I don't think you would see in a lot of standard action, maybe in a Robert Rodriguez movie by that point, but not in a lot of like 70s and 80s style movies, but something probably more akin to like a John Woo hard-boiled shoot 'em up kind of film.
Yeah, well, and the John Woo stuff definitely makes sense, because that, is pretty much once he starts going from like doing the martial arts movies to like doing the gun fu kind of action ones, is literally like about mid 80s onwards. So, yeah. And this, this OVA is 1995. So I think the manga is only probably a little bit earlier. So it's probably 94 or 93. So you could see where, yeah, all that kind of stuff there. John Woo's really taken off. And so there's a lot of influence going around there. And yeah, this one does, because the shootouts are really dialed in. They're thought through. There's a lot of action, a lot of explosions. Like, it captures a lot of the great mixed match of 80s, 90s, just action storylines, but does it in an anime form, and does it in like American form too, because it's cool, because it like takes place in Chicago. So you literally get that like you're watching Red Heat or something like that. You feel like Jim Belushi's going to show up at some point in this movie.
It is kind of funny sometimes when you watch, like, and I get it, because we don't really know much about Japan other than what we see in the movies, and like, just very passively. So, but when you see them like American politics, like, yes, I am an American politician, congressman. Yes, I wanted to get rid of the immigrants and raise taxes. Damn it. Just like the baseline of it, and like, all right, then it kind of like, who runs who like bust in on shit on in like America, fire ATF, that's what it's called. Okay, ATF, cool. All right. I felt kind of like that kind of, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not complaining, but it is kind of interesting because sometimes you could see those animes or something where you could see like something like Ghost in the Shell, even though it's cyberpunk and it's in the future, you could see there's a lot of research that probably goes into, like departmental type stuff and whatnot, and just kind of like, is this federal or not, like federal crime versus like, just that kind of thing, where this seemed a lot more broader and a lot more like kind of flimsier in that way, but doesn't need it. It's more for the action. It is very character based,
Yeah, well, and if you think about it, if you're in the 90s and you're living in Japan and you're researching stuff in the U.S., it's a very archaic style, so it's actually pretty impressive,
Exactly.
like, when you think about it, like, the amount of details and so on, because I think this guy even said, I remember in the special features, he's like, I've never been to the U.S. before. He's like, I just know it from movies and so on like that.
Yeah, so he's probably just picking up like that, like the way we would like, oh, Japan, ninjas, like anime.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It would be like
karate. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be like, in a sense, it's like, writing Ninja Turtles stuff, in the late 80s, early 90s. Like, in a sense, it's not like Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird went to, like, Japan and did some hard studying and, all this stuff. You know what I mean? This is what we know from martial arts films, and, maybe picking up a couple of non-translated, mangas to kind of see what they're doing over there for comics.
I mean, I'm not trying to talk shit. Most of what I know of Japanese history, I learned from like Yojimbo and Rurouni Kenshin. So it's not like, and then we jump over to like Last Samurai, and then we jump to World War II. Okay, that's what I know. Okay, so it's not exactly the widest spectrum. All right, I'm aware.
Yeah, and Gundam Wing too. I'm pretty sure that's what's going. That's what told me about the politics of Japan.
Like just watching Tom Cruise. Like, man, when he's gonna get the fucking Gundam? I mean, this shit's all right, but it'd be a lot cooler if he had a fucking Gundam.
Yeah.
Is Ken Watanabe gonna show him how to drive the Gundam?
Yeah, so that's how I kind of look at it, and it's always kind of interesting. I mean, it's the same way that like Judge Dredd, that's just England looking at America and just kind of going, writing some stuff down. Yeah. Interesting. You know what I mean? So this is what they do. Oh, that'd make for a good storyline. Yeah, Mega City 1 and 2.
Sure, why not? Yeah.
And then I just love how England's like, they're like, if for some fucking reason, like, we made Judge Dredd to be kind of almost like a totalitarian, like, controlling, like, police officer, and Americans are like, that guy's fucking amazing! That's my cop right there! Which for some reason is controversial because Judge Dredd's so badass, but they're like, I don't think they get it.
Well, they're buying the book, just keep putting it out there. Like Stallone really wants to play. Yeah, I really want to shoot some fucking criminals. Like, oh, sure, okay.
Hey, Cobra, you know what I mean? Yeah, But I'm not wearing the helmet. That's I can't fucking see in that. You know what I mean? You got to put this mug, on the poster. So if you don't got it on there, you know what I mean, you're not going to sell some tickets. Just saying.
I think it's half that, and then the other half is just puts the helmet on. He starts freaking out like, I can't say.
He's like, he's sitting on the motorcycle, but he's not going anywhere. He's like, I'm going down the highway. He's like, just slow and slow. You're just sitting on the bike with a helmet on, and you have the helmet on back. You have the helmet on backwards for some reason.
Oh, okay, all right.
Oh, yeah, I can't see out of this thing. How about that? That was fucking weird. You guys didn't get that on film, did you? Oh, okay, good. I don't want people to think I'm fucking retarded or something.
Too late.
So yeah, Gunsmith Cats, America, ATF.
But the whole thing is that even sounds kind of like I don't really know how accurate it is to the manga, but that's just an interesting concept, just where it's like a gunsmith, a gunsmith company. That I also like the small little detail, like there wasn't enough room for the full sign on their building, so they just have like an extra little S kind of sticking out on the side to finish off the sign. Like it kind of fits.
If I remember correctly, it's been a moment since I've read the book, but I almost want to say that it sort of explains that, because it's like at first it was just Rowley Vincent, and she just owned the shop. And then when Minnie May came along, it was like, well, now there's two of us, so we'll just slap an S on there.
That makes more sense, but it just looks funny, just...
Yeah, I know.
Like, oh, shit, we're
the little detail.
And then the idea of like, okay, so we moonlight basically as bounty hunters, and then maybe it's implied. I'm sure it says more in the actual manga, but in the OVA it's implied they do a little bit of work here and there for the Chicago Police Department, but the ATF kind of weasels their way in and says like, hey, we could really use your help on this, and if you don't, well, we could just seize this. And I mean, I will say I was talking like how like kind of lax they were with, it seemed like some of the broader details of the politics, but as far as like what the guy was saying, like I guess we could overlook this, overlook all the tax deductibles you have with each gun, X, Y, and Z. You need a class 3 license for this, for that. Like, okay, that part they probably definitely did some research, or sound like at least they did the research,
Yeah.
But I'll assume they did. But like in like that aspect, so it's kind of like I always kind of like those stories where, I mean, it's to varying degrees, but kind of like where the main hero begrudgingly has to work with some other force they don't really want to work with. Kind of like, well, even though this isn't the main character, but something in the context of like the Wild Bunch, where it's like the one guy has to track down his old team of bandits for the Pinkertons, like that kind of thing. I always just think that's the idea of like someone who has all these illegal guns having to work for the cops. I just think that's just kind of like I don't know, it just makes for a fun dynamic.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of being forced in and whatnot, and like, here you go. And yeah, when it kind of starts off, you do have that one where pretty much she's forced in by the ATF just so she can keep her license, keep the business, and all kinds of stuff, because they're not fully up to code and everything like that. But you know what? We'll make it run. We'll tape it back together, and they have to go after that one kind of informant guy or whatnot. It's kind of, and that's almost where like the first main like shootout kind of starts up and so on like that there.
Well, also the one ATF guy, like William, whatever.
Yeah,
he looks kind of like he looks like a schlubbier Kaji from Evangelion.
Yeah, he sort of does.
And I like his character, because the thing is, he is kind of like sleazy, and he is very much an opportunist, but he's not the worst guy in the room. At the exact same time, though, he's a little arrogant, but he's not so arrogant that he thinks like, step out of the way, ladies, I can do this. Like, he knows he's not as good of a shot as Raleigh, but he's a good enough shot compared to most other people in the force.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like he kind of knows his strengths and weaknesses and so on like that. And Raleigh it's like, in a sense, like she's the best gun expert in all of Chicago. She's the best, almost shootist and so on like that. And then of course Minnie Mae is pretty much just really an explosive. So she's borderline 2 steps away that she could have been a terrorist, but instead she's working on the right side of the law. You know what I mean? She's like the one that's like, almost like should we keep an eye on her as a fucking 17-year-old with a lot of fucking explosives or whatever,
Yeah. Well, it's also something to the before we go too much more into the story, I just want to talk about like just the art style for a second, just before we go on the grander story, because I actually think I really like the design of the characters, like aside from like the waifu-ness of all. I mean, I just mean just the way they look. Like they have like a very distinct, because I feel like a lot of times anime characters kind of fall under like 2 categories, where this sort of feels into kind of like, it kind of reminds me of like Ranma, sort of, because the characters are a little chunkier. I mean, I know that Raleigh and Minnie Mae are relatively thin, but just the way they're
But they got like thick hands and everything.
Thicker hands. Their facial expressions are their face is a little bit more rounder and kind of fuller. So, and just like also the hairstyles they give them look really cool. Like I just kind of like it. Like I kind of like it's a very. It has like it's anime. It's anime, but I don't see very many animes that have like just it's small things like the thicker hands, the bigger feet, the like makes you sound like they got the bigger hands and the bigger feet. I like it. I mean like that, but I mean in the way of just you don't see that kind of design more. It's just something really aesthetically pleasing about just kind of like mixing it up. It just reminds me a lot of Ranma 1/2 actually, or even kind of like. I could see this the other way around, like him pulling that kind of Scott Pilgrim, even though I know this more likely inspired Scott Pilgrim or Ron.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, and I think that's also because once again he's trying to give things more of American look, anyways, and so on like that. So it gives it more of a cartoon vibe, over just like a straight anime vibe. It's fused together, of course, but and I always remember that like when I initially learned how to draw is like how how you make a cartoon character look right is they have to have bigger hands and bigger feet than like almost a live action version would, or else it looks weird if you try to make them like 1-to-1 proportions to that. It's like bigger head, bigger hands, and bigger feet. That's like the things that make it look. Then it's like, oh, now it looks like it's a cartoon character, and it looks right.
That's what made Sonic last so long, probably.
Yeah.
Among other things.
in a fucking huge cock. Like what? It's like, yeah, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog. I want fucking dragon as I'm running.
Just like flops behind him. He's running through Green Hill.
You think that's his feet? It's not.
That's why I always get you can't get too close to Robotnik because you got something easy to grab and just swing him around like Bowser, Just...
It's just fucking Mario 64.
Gotta be careful.
It's Gunsmith Cats. Like the art style is just fucking cool. The character design, they're very unique. Like you can spot those two characters from like a mile away, and you go, "Oh, Gunsmith Cats." You know what I mean? As I said, they don't have like the I know what you mean. There's a lot of anime where it just feels like they almost just took like generic model, and then we kind of threw a different outfit on and a different hairstyle, and oh look, it's a different character now. But like everything else is really just like the same like bread and butter design.
Like I want to look up what other stuff this manga artist did, just because I really do like this art style, as well as like because even like the male characters, because I know it's because Rally, Minnie, and then Becky or Vicky,
Becky.
The tech head, like even her design, she's probably a little bit more toned back than the other two, but her design is still good. And then I even like the design of what I said, the guy William. Mm-hmm. There's the Russian assassin Natasha who comes in later, who I think looks really cool, and then there's even some like this the passerby characters. Like there's the informant guy who he doesn't look like anything crazy amazing, but he does stand out compared to other characters. Usually, I feel like anime characters are one of two shapes, and he's like a 5th or 6th shape. You don't see it too often. You know what I mean? So even like the smaller details down to him. So.
Yeah, no, and I've always I thought about that too. I'm like, you know what? I still need to look up and see what else this guy did. Kenichi Sonoda is the artist and creator of it, and so on like that. But I don't know what, because most of the time, if I like a book by somebody that much, I'm sure I would have kind of bought more. But sometimes every once in a while, it's weird. Like they'll bring like one series from Japan, and then like another one will be kind of like somewhat landlocked, and you're like, why is there not more of these things here? Or like, what? It's like no, I don't want to buy the Japanese version that I know I can't read. Like, you know what I mean? Dark Horse, damn it, translate this for me. Just put the pages in the right section. Don't do that weird thing you used to do in the '90s where they would like flip it, so everybody's left-handed all of a sudden. Fucking like Legend of Zelda style.
They actually. It's kind of interesting because Outlaw Star, that was based on a manga, and that's different from the anime. And at some point, I think the manga ended before I had a chance just to even continue. I think the anime actually ended properly, and the manga did not. And that guy also has another series set in the same world that's only manga. He has one called Angel Links, which is about like the military side set in the Outlaw Star world. I never got around to it. Yeah, it's more about the thing is, it looks kind of like the character it's focusing on. I have no idea what it's really about. There's like the episode of Outlaw Star where they get captured by the military. There's like a blonde lady and a big lizard man. They're in the show, but they're not the main characters. Apparently, it looks kind of Sailor Moonish, in all honesty, from the girl it focuses on. But it's, I guess, from the military aspect of Outlaw Star, and I never seen the show. Meant to check it out. Just never. It's called Angel.
There's a show or a manga that there is.
It's a show. It's a show.
Okay.
And then there's a manga that's not. It's still within that same universe, but it's from like the aspect of a treasure hunter or something like that. And I have no idea what that's about. So it's kind of, I don't know. But that doesn't have a wide release. Neither does the Outlaw Star manga. Like, I don't even think if that thing came to America, you could probably find some PDFs translated somewhere. But yeah, so it's just kind of like,
it's weird.
Yeah. So and once again, Outlaw Star. Not to keep on going to this, I'm just thinking about. I think probably Outlaw Star is where I saw like probably the ad for the Gunsmith Cats thing, maybe. So I'm just thinking like, there's so many big anime from our generation that is just out of print, including this right here, Gunsmith Cats.
Yeah, no, because it's like literally like all these things too. It's like, well, they're putting out a new version of I think Dark Horse is putting out like a new book set of these coming out real soon.
Cool.
So they're gonna try to get some more like steam going for it. But
You try Gunweather at it.
Yeah, so I don't think it's just going to be like probably the same collection again, just
I'm fine with that.
Republished, which is like that. That's cool. I mean, you could still buy the old ones anyways. It's not like they were out of print or anything like that. But yeah, it's one of those ones. So they're putting out a new version, which is kind of cool because it'll at least give more light to it. Because it is at that point too where there's too many animes out there now because of that. Like at least in the '90s, once again, you only had like the 15 different ones you could find anyways, and then you would see some ads for them. It's like if they were at a reasonable price, you would be caught up like nobody's no problem whatsoever. But nowadays you finally at least can go back on YouTube and everything like that, or even like internetarchives.org and find some of like the mangas and stuff that are hard to find put back up there.
I don't want this to become like a kids these days, or the anime we grew up with was just better. But I mean, growing up with it, I guess because there was a big part of it. We're going to talk about Gunsmith Cats proper again in a second. I'm just talking about just the time this came out, sort of. Even though I'm seeing it now for the first time. It's kind of like there's that thing about like you really didn't know a lot of times what you're getting into. Maybe you saw the ad, but a lot of time it was just going to whatever store, like this looks interesting, and checking it out and hoping it was good. But then when you found those good ones, it was something really special. And then the other aspect of it is just being kind of like there's something about like I think it's because a lot of the people that were into it and watched it, it kind of like when you watch a lot of these, it kind of gives off that like your friend who lived in a basement or like 70s wood paneling wall, you know what I mean? Kind of that vibe.
Double wide trailer.
It depended. It could vary. Not always the same thing, just like stacks of anime on the side of the like just like it kind of I feel like this really returns a lot of that feeling, at least to me. It gives you that kind of like VHS quality, and I'm not one of those people who I know you are, but I'm not one of those people who's like I gotta watch it on VHS. Just returns the feeling. Like it's there, cool, but I don't really gotta go to my way for it. But watching it kind of gave me a little bit of that feeling. Sometimes that's that good. That's a good thing about catching up on something late. Is you get that feeling, but it's still something new to you at the same time. And I feel like this anime in particular, like I feel like a lot of new anime is almost just too like clean. And I don't mean that like content wise. I just mean that just the way it looks. Sometimes a lot of times it just looks too clean. Where this has a little bit more of kind of that like grain to it. But at the same time, the animation and detail on everything is so good on this particular anime.
Well, and let's just be honest, 80s and 90s is kind of the golden age of like, especially for anime.
To us.
You know what I mean?
Us.
Well, I'm not even going to say just to us because I feel like it's just is, and I think 90s, like, let's be honest, for cartoons and I know that sounds like a generational thing, but I think things were just really fucking dialed in then. Animation was almost like at the
kind of a new
highest
frontier for some aspects.
Yeah, it was at like the highest it was. I mean, if you can't deny, I mean, this is cartoons, but like Batman the animated series and X-Men, like that comparatively to everything kind of beforehand, it's like that really took things to like, hey, here's a show that almost anybody can watch. The quality's super good. The artwork is great. It's not a bunch of cheap, it's not like 70s animation where they're like, let's see how cheap we can fucking make this. You know what I mean? Like, and I think the same thing of anime in the 80s and 90s, because computers, they're sort of there to like slightly help out, but it's just like early CGI. It's like you're not making your entire movie with it. You're only using it maybe once in a blue moon, maybe for a little bit extra like special effects, just some like light glares and so on like that. But like, it's a perfect example of like Gunsmith Cats. There's a fucking car chase in like the second episode. It's all hand drawn. It doesn't have that cheap CG look or anything like that. Because that's the thing is, I'm not saying anything against like there's always going to be good shows out there and stuff, but like the quality of animation, I hate to start saying it, when you have that computer, it does make it easier, and I get why people use it. It's easier, it's faster, it's less like materials. You know what I mean? You're not going through stacks of paper and all kinds of stuff. But I hate to sort of say it's just like. it's not going to look as like pure as far as like the cinema aspect will be of film, you know, hand-drawn artwork, you know, and people literally like doing painstaking stuff like drawing fucking cars chasing each other over and over and over in many frames, you know, and getting those details right like on a Shelby GT500, you know, the whole way through. I think that's why I kind of look at, once again, because in anime, I think 80s and 90s is pretty fucking dialed in for stuff, you know, where I think American cartoons, there's good stuff in the 80s, don't get me wrong, but I think it's by the 90s is when it starts to really come into play of like, here's these shows that really fucking take it to the next level.
Most of my favorite anime is 90s. I'm not going to deny that. I just don't want to be the guy being like, what I grew up is the best, so fuck all you, you know. If you weren't alive for 9/11, get fucked. You know, I don't want one of those people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, I recognize what you mean, just because, like, I guess for just what I'm interested in, I remember, yes, there's always been that period in anime where, like, okay, yeah, this anime focuses on a high schooler, this anime you know, whatever. But I feel like there's like at least majority of the stuff I see now, it's always like people in fucking high school, or it's always, you know, and it's all usually isekai or magic shit. And that can be good. There is I like Dungeon Meshi. Dungeon Meshi is pretty good. But and I like I really like Chainsaw Man because that's technically a high schooler and all that, but there's still a lot going on in that show and manga. But at the exact same time, I kind of like. I was watching this. I was just like, okay. I mean, yeah, one of them, I guess, is 17 or 18, but the other one's a full-grown adult, and they're a bounty hunter. Okay,
Yeah.
All right, just. Yeah, I'm fine with that. You know, someone just with a day job. That's fine with me. You know.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this, like, I always do that kind of thing. Whatever Japan tells you what their age is, I literally always add 5 to 10 years on it. I think Japan just likes to roll the clock back, like, in a weird way. Like, I really kind of, because, like, a lot of times it's like, yeah, you may say this girl's 17, but she's acting like she's 27. I hate to sort of say it. Like, you're trying to tell me one thing, you know, or I'll even go, oh, she's acting at least like she's 23, you know. It's kind of hard for me to, like, you know, do that. You know, it's just like so many things, too. It's like here's a, you know, you look at, like, Final Fantasy 8 or something like that. I know they're in like school, but like they make them out like they're all like 17 years old, and like they're at the end of high school. But it's like, let's be honest, they more feel like they're like literally at like the end of like a master's program, you know, in college. So they feel like they're all probably. Yeah, of like they feel like they're more like closer to like I would say 25, 26. So pretty much whatever Japan tells me, I always add 5 to 10 years. You know, it's kind of like when they say like fucking Jet is like 35 years old. It's like get fucked. He's like 55 years old. He's like 40, retired.
Jet's like 45 optimistically.
Yeah, at the lowest.
I'm older than Jet right now. Jet's supposed to be 36 or 37. I'm older than Jet now. I'm 38. Yeah. So the idea of Jet being like me being older than Jet and me just like walking with a limp around my house and like watering my bonsais or whatever. No, get fucked. Optimistically, Jet's 45. Really, he's probably like 52 or 53.
Yeah. That's okay. Phase 76, so whatever.
Hey, looks good for 76. You know?
Yeah.
But like,
I really wish they just put that, like, you know, like when they just say like the ages, like in like the bios and stuff like that, but put Faye's age in there with no context to that episode that she's been like, she was like pretty much in like cryo sleep for like 50 years. Just leave the fact like someone goes, the fuck? Was this a typo? Like, no, she's 76 or whatever.
Just like, I guess Botox, they really got that technology down by this point.
Yeah, she's been smoking cigarettes for that long. Which I will say, speaking of Cowboy Bebop, though, when you watch the fucking opening credits to Gunsmith Cats, I'm like, holy crap, I know where Cowboy Bebop got fucking inspired for that.
Definitely. Yeah, I was thinking, I had to look that up for a second, because I'll be honest, you're coming in here because you know about the series previously. I should have, I didn't, but I meant to do some research, but I did no research. I just watched the show, and I'm coming with my opinions raw on it. So
Well, that's okay, because the book series, I mean, you'd have to read like 2,000 pages or whatever the fuck and get through it all.
I guess I could have looked up an interview with the guy or something, but it's all good. But regardless, yeah, I did look up when it came out for a second. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this predates Bebop. So, yeah, I can definitely see some inspiration there. Even like how clean and smooth the opening credits are with that. And kind of going back to the characters again of like Rally, who is, like, probably my favorite character. I think she's probably most people's favorite character. And I liked Minnie May. And you going off the thing about her being like 17, like when the show first started, I was like, okay, she's probably like 19 to like 22, maybe something like that. That was my assumption, just because sometimes those like those people in their early 20s who just happen to be short, and at the same time they have those kind of like firecracker personalities, But I was like, oh, is she meant to be? Okay, it's Japan. It is what it is. Well, but at the same time, like,
as I said, I think that's what you do. You add the 5 years to it, and it makes more sense. You're like, okay, she's at least 22 plus.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, oh, it's Japan. Is what they, But at the same time, it's just kind of like, I guess a lot of times it's a thing of wish fulfillment. But I guess with that character, I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to have a funny kind of like rambunctious, kind of like impish character or whatever, which I guess she's kind of, I guess she kind of remind me of even though I never finished it and you're much more the Final Fantasy guy, she reminded me of Riku from like Final Fantasy
X. Yeah, actually, I never thought about that, but yeah, she's kind of like that. Well, that's the thing is she's like the fun, slightly younger than Rally character. She's just kind of a little bit more wild and crazy. She has kind of like a weird dark background in like the fucking manga where you're like, holy shit, like, because that's the thing is this one's like cool action, so on like that, but it does, like, when I say hard boiled, like, I guess I'm getting that more from like the manga definitely has a lot more like 70s shit in there where like Minnie May was literally like a prostitute like at one point in time, like when she was a kid, like fucking like what's her name in Taxi Driver.
Okay, like Jodie Foster.
Yeah, like Jodie Foster's character and so on like that, and the dude pretty much like Taxi Driver sort of saves her out of it and whatnot. So
like it's the lingerie scene with her. So
yeah, so it's got like one of those ones like the manga does go kind of hard, like, and that's where it's got some of that grit in there and whatnot, and so on like that. Where in this one they kind of play a little bit more in like the hey, it's a fun action way and so on like that. This
one's more Rush Hour than Sam Peckinpah.
I love that, like, on a tagline. It's more Rush Hour than Sam Peckinpah. Like
you got depends on who you're trying to sell it to. And I may cry Tarantino walk the other way, but someone who doesn't even know who Sam Peckinpah is like, well, shit, I like Rush Hour.
Yeah, fuck. It's got Chris Tucker in it. I want to see Chris Tucker in a Sam Peckinpah movie now. I don't know why. I just want to see how that goes down.
He's just playing the same character. He's just in Wild Bunch. Like he's just like he's not Jaime Sanchez who gets murked at the end of Wild Bunch, but he's like one of the other guys. Like, bro, he killed him, bro. Dutch, what are we doing? Dutch, we gotta kill you.
Oh, I don't know. I would love to see just that. It's like it'd be hilarious. But yeah, going into Gunsmith Cats and whatnot. The kind of cool thing is in this OVA, it's like it's almost like a 3-parter, like little mini episodes that turns into one full complete movie realistically at the end of the day, and each part leads into the next, and as they, we said before, if the ATF kind of comes in and needs to use their services, but they're gonna be like, hey, we're gonna fucking blackmail you if you don't, and if not, we'll take your guns and melt them away. I know Rally's got a fucking giant arsenal under her basement. You know what I mean? She's got more guns than the dude in Tremors.
Well, I would like the part when she's getting like, she looks forward to a shootout, and the part where there's like, she has the light going off, she's like, burglars, and she gets this big grin on her face, like, I'm gonna fuck some bitches up.
I know, those guys are like, hey, check it out, look at this, we're gonna fucking retire goods. Like, why retire? We can start a fucking war.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not sure. Maybe they knew what they were robbing. Maybe I missed that, or I don't remember. But like the idea of like, we're gonna go rob a gun hoarder's house. Like, okay. And then
That's going to end well.
and they see all these guns, and they're like, dude, what's the worst thing that could happen? It's like,
And then, boom, Raleigh kicks in the fucking door, just starts blasting these guys and so on like that. And there's a part I love, like, Minnie-May comes running. He's like, Raleigh's like, no fucking explosives in the house. Oh, man, I want to blow some fuckers up right now.
he's like, but they're flashbangs. No explosive in the house. Like, you know. Which I'll say, Minnie-May, she's kind of like more on the sidelines for the majority of this. She doesn't really have a chance to shine until like near the end of episode 2 and then the end of like episode 3. Those are kind of like her 2 moments where she shines. And even at the end of episode 2, it's kind of a more passive, like, oh, you did that secretly. Okay, good job, you know? And first off, all the action and shootout, because I think every shootout actually stands out. There's never a shootout just like it's a generic shootout that happened. Like each one has an interesting type of setup, goes down differently and very creative. Like even like the whole part where they invade the house and she's going with the lights out and how elaborate she is and how it shows how she works around everything, you know?
Yeah, no. And I think that kind of that's why OVAs a lot of times could be kind of pretty neat, is because sometimes it's like, we don't have to make 24 plus episodes, so we're going to have to stretch this out. They're like, you got to put it all into these 3 episodes, so make it really fucking good and make it, you know, stand out. And I think that this is a perfect example of like where they do put some quality into it, because we know we've watched some of those OVAs before where they look really pretty and everything like that, but story-wise they kind of fall a little bit flat, you know, where this one's like it's firing on all cylinders, I think, because it's got the original dude, I think, writing the whole thing. It's not like they just said, that's good, you go sit down in your drawing boy chair and, you know, let the men put this together. Yeah, you know, who does the anime, and you do manga, you know, it's like, what are you fucking saying? Like, but so many of those ones, it's like, it feels like they don't have the original dude there and everything, where I think this one does. I know he's like, you know, part of the writing and creating staff. So you have that, and then I feel like they're just dropping in, like, they're like, let's make this look fucking great, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. And even like to the point of like, just like how like when I think the first big shootout they have where they go to the warehouse and how like they're checking her. And like she has like, all right, give us the gun. She's like, oh, more calm about it. Like, you have another gun. She has like she just to fuck with the guy, like pops out of her wrist a little like sling thing, and she's like this, you know, just hands it off to him, no problem. And then just like they walk in on the informant, he's fucking watching porn in his office. Or
you're like, check it out. I got a Windows 95. Look what you can do with this thing.
And then the aspect of like they got to use, like, yeah, they use it for like a fan service moment with the crane pulls her shirt off partially or whatever.
Yeah,
but like, you know, I wasn't surprised by that.
To me, it's like I've seen anime my entire life. It's like bound to happen, you know. You sort of expect it to happen, you know what I mean? It's like a weird one. Like if it doesn't happen, you're like, that's fucking weird. I felt like there was something missing. I can't put my finger on it, but you know, something was different about this one over the others.
Well, this type of anime, I guess if something happened like that, I mean, I guess to a certain extent it kind of does, but they explain it way more like in Ghost in the Shell. And in Ghost in the Shell, she has like the skin suit for like going invisible or whatever. So
yeah.
that's, but I guess in something like this, like it already has kind of like a kind of playful, cartoony look to it, and it already has like a fun energy. So I'm not surprised something like this would happen. But if it happens in something like super dark and serious or whatever, I'm like, that seems ill-timed, you know. But this is just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And it's 90s. I kind of hate to sort of say it. It's kind of like, that's just kind of how it was in like the 80s and 90s, you know what I mean?
And that's not me complaining. That's not me complaining about it. I'm just saying.
I noticed it. Just saying. I'm just pointing it out, you know, as I sit here in my fucking, you know, hot springs, so, you know, and I'm just watching the TV that they have playing here, and they have this cat show on. I'm just stating the facts.
Is an Asian man named like Hinji starts beating me with a fucking brush above plant.
Yeah, it tells me to get in the cold plunge next. So I'm like, well, I'm quite comfortable here. You don't have to keep hitting me with that stick and yelling obscenities at me or whatever you're saying. You know,
full plunge. I don't know. They just want to get the fuck out. I don't speak their language. I'm on vacation.
It's weird that like you have this outlaw star lady. She has to get naked to charge this ship over here. I don't know what that's all about, but
yeah, that's revenue. That's causing revenue for people to come back.
Well, and let's be honest, it works, especially if you're selling it to like the 15-year-old boy. He definitely came back the next night.
I'm not gonna lie, not to be like the super like not to be the for modernization, but I'll be honest. If they decided, I'm not saying they should, but if they decided, we're gonna do like a live action Outlaw Star reboot. If they took away the whole thing, like Melfina has to get naked and get into like the tube that everyone can see for the ship to run properly. If they took that out, like I get it,
Yeah, it's like whatever.
I want to be like, they're woking this thing up. They're ruining my childhood. What the fuck? I want to be like that. I would be like, I get it.
I think they should still keep it, but put a male character in there instead, just to really throw him a curveball and just fucking dick swinging in there.
A 300-pound like fat dude,
just squeezing into it. I kid you not, I have not gained more weight. The fucking machine's getting smaller every time. Just fucking shows like ass cheeks like stuck against glass.
Just his dick and balls like upward pressed against.
He's like, how far is it? How long we gotta travel like this?
There's like any shot where they're in like the control deck looking around, you just see like over the shoulder of one of them, you just see the dick and balls just pressed against the glass, like shields at 40%.
Because that's how I feel. It's like one of those ones to be like, oh no, we still kept it. Oh we did, but we got a different guy doing it.
Gene, we got pirates coming in. Like, the Pago wants some fun. Pago wants some fun. Like every shot, just they find a way to get the fucking dick pressed against the glass.
Somebody's head gets slapped up against the side of it, just right fucking there.
It's not Melfina, it's Mel. So it's not like when they go to open the case. It's not like the small suitcase with this petite cute girl in it. It's just this giant case. Like, what the fuck is this? They get like, oh fuck! Just like this 300-pound like hairy ass dude flops out.
Yeah, he literally works at Mel's Diner. He used to be a chef there, and now he's got fucking a job on the fucking Starship.
So he just replaced Melfina with a guy named Mel. Yeah.
But yeah, so there's that. But yeah, I guess going back to Gunsmith Cats, you got this cool shootout in this factory kind of warehouse area and whatnot. And yeah, she does like, and it's weird because it's Rowley's the one who always gets caught. Like, the chorus is like, oh, she gets caught by like a fucking crane, like, not rips her blouse off. And, just like later on too, it's like, when she has like the shootout or whatnot in the house, and she's like fucking burglars and stuff. And it's like, she's got no problem running around in her underwear blasting these people left and right. But then for some reason, fucking William comes in and she's like, oh shit, this fucking guy saw me.
Yeah, well, in her mind, these guys are gonna die. So
yeah, I was like, they're not gonna remember shit. Like, I'm gonna blast the living daylights out of them. But that fucking Bill guy, he's already, let's be honest, he's already kind of a pervert. He's already bugged our house multiple times.
Yeah, God knows.
He says it's for ATF duties, but you know how those guys are.
Yeah, can't trust them. So
hopped up on coffee and cigarettes all night long.
Yeah. But like, kind of like even like the car chases, like because you were talking like how cool like just the standard shootouts are, but the car chases with like how the whole I like how much thought went into that. Like they're being chased down, they're chasing the Russian lady, and a big part of it is like, all right, she has Minnie May, so we can't get too close, otherwise she's going to kill her right off the bat. We gotta keep a trail on her, and at the same time, Minnie May escapes by planting a bomb in the process, and basically has to risk jumping out and jumping onto the hood of the Shelby.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like she like literally like falls along to the hood, and they grab her and everything, pull her in. And like literally like, it's animated, but it's like literally like the car chase scene is like, it could like rival like almost any other one in live action cinema. It's fucking good.
It is kind of up there with the Steve McQueen car chase,
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of times with the Shelby, it feels like it gives it a lot of bullet kind of feels is like what I always kind of see it as.
Yeah, yeah. Well, even like that villain, like the Russian hit lady, like Natasha, like I thought that was a cool character. That almost seemed just because the things with the character walks in, like she has like a Kevlar lined trench coat, you know. So, and then like she has like that weird weapon where it's like a knife that has like a few shots, and then when the shots run out, it shoots the blade out, and she just like stabs them and just like takes the blade back, you know.
Yeah, because she goes like at the I think it's that beginning of episode 2. She goes to find that one dude,
the informant, the guy looking at porn.
That's right, the informant guy from the first episode and whatnot, and she goes there, and then she literally, like, shoots him, in a sense, with the knife, and then, like, fucking stabs him a couple extra times and whatnot, just brutally murders that guy, and then takes him out and carries on. And then you learn a little bit later on that this lady's working with, there's, like, this guy who's, I can't remember, what's he running for, mayor or congressman or fucking DA?
For, like, congressman. He says, I'm an American. Like, that's what the thing is, like a true American. That's kind of where my thing was coming from with the what political party are you affiliated with? America. Like, okay, cool, you know.
Yeah, they always have, like, so he's like, oh, I'm going for whatever the fuck I'm running for Chicago, and you know what, I'm taking a hard stance on guns, and guns are bad, okay, and all this stuff, and his whole plan is like, well, I own a bunch of, like, fucking gun stuff, so I'm gonna make the prices now skyrocket, and I'm gonna make way more money now. There's nothing they can fucking do about it, and I'll be in control of all the guns, and that's why I hired this Russian lady, and for some reason she likes to get paid in heroin.
Yeah, like...
I just gave her a big old suitcase of fucking heroin, you know what I mean? Here you go. Straight out of Vietnam.
Here we go.
It's good shit.
Keith Richards cereal box, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. You know what I mean? And he's like, you got to kind of go out there and take some of these fuckers out, you know what I mean? And take out that rally lady, because, you know, if anybody loves guns more, she's the number one proponent for that, like...
Well, a lot of it near the end, it seemed more like that lady was just. I know they were still a job, because that's what's revealed that the ATF, the head of the ATF, is working with this congressman, as well as the Congress. They do the whole thing of like, he reveals his whole plan with like a camera roll, like, what? I didn't say that. What? You know, like where he admits the whole crime while being like. But I paid you in heroin. What is that camera rolling? Like that kind of thing. Like, if only that worked. Like there's so many times we see that kind of thing. Like you see, like even in anime, like in Full Metal Alchemist, you have the priest saying, "These fucking idiots, they believe anything I tell them. If I tell them the God will bring them back to life, they'll fucking kill themselves." Like, oh fuck, that's a microphone. You know, and now it's like that all happens like weekly, and we're just like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, well, I think in the 90s, especially going like when it's like, okay, like, you know, smuggling a camera inside somewhere or something like that, it took some skill. Where like nowadays there's like a fucking camera and a microphone like everywhere. I mean, like, look at our fucking houses, it's just surrounded by cameras and microphones. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we film ourselves. We're doing it intentionally. They're like these guys are fucking screaming at the top of their lungs about fucking Gunsmith Cats and fucking 1995 anime and
Outlaw Star, and what if Melfina was Mel, a big guy with a dick?
Yeah, so, you know, but yeah, they kind of go through that whole thing with, and then the ATF kind of, you know, finds out, puts that dude under arrest and so on like that, and they're like, yeah, that's it, fucking, you know what, you're not taking away the guns, you know what, this is Gunsmith Cat territory.
Well, I do like it does kind of for a while, because it's Riley basically getting Minnie May or saving Minnie May or William or whoever in whatever situation, where at the end she gets like knocked around pretty bad and she is kind of like almost out of it, and Minnie May is the one that has to help her. But then even like she sets up all these explosive traps as they're being tracked down by the Russian, and that lady is so good, she's able to spot all the traps and kind of like work around them. And just like the way they kind of get that lady too at the end. So for a while, like Raleigh is kind of out of it because she just went through a bunch of damage, and then like I think Minnie May gets knocked off the side of a building, and then she like swings down on like a rope and like slams on some scaffolding, but then throws like a grenade in the bucket and just like yanks that fucker up and like lands up there.
Yeah, because she throws a big old flashbang up in there and whatnot, and just, you know, it's like, one that goes off, run, Rally, run.
Just like the amount of thought that kind of goes into the shootouts like that, you know, and then even down to the last effort, like the thing where like the lady, like, because the lady's wearing the bulletproof trench coat, so it's really fucking hard to kill her. They have to wait to get it wasn't planned, but then like the last minute, the thing happens a lot, like in Die Hard, like we think that's the last European guy, and then he just jumps out like, and like and the one dude like unloads on him. They kind of have that, and you know, like, oh, the, you know, saxophone coming in, dare say another job well done. And all of a sudden she comes charging in, and they have to get close enough, and she has to unload, and you see like just it doesn't even shoot through the back. It can't even make it out the back of the Kevlar suit, but you see like the bullets just like the back of the Kevlar suit just shooting up. Like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, she just unloads a full clip in them, Reservoir Dogs style and whatnot, or into her, and just blast her. And it's kind of interesting because it's like her arms all jacked up and everything, because, you know, by this point, she's been stabbed multiple times and beaten up from the Russian lady, and they think they're at the end. They're laying outside of the courthouse area. That dude's being arrested, you know, because he got caught on camera, and they're taking the body away of the Russian lady in the ambulance, but then she busts out of there, and she's got like a fire axe or whatever coming straight for Rally. And Rally's like, I can't pull my gun up because my arm's fucking jacked, and so on like that. And then, of course, William gives a cover shot, blows the axe in half,
right,
and then that gives her just enough time to turn and go, pop, 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 pop. And it's just like, yeah, it's a cool finishing way.
Yeah. So Rally does get the final shot at the end. So, but, you know, the only thing is I just wish this thing was another, like, 20 or 30 minutes longer, just because it was kind of... I thought originally it was an ongoing series, and I saw, oh, it's only an OVA. Okay, well, that explains why the animation is so good and it looks so good. But then, like, watching it, I have no real complaints. I just wish it was longer. I just wish there was another. I want to check out the manga just so I can see more of this and get more of the characters' backgrounds. But also knowing that this is not an adaptation, this is its own story. That's also cool too. So it won't feel like I'm okay. I already read this one when I get to it.
Yeah, no, it adds. It's not like, you know, like Alita. I remember that's because, you know, like you watch the OVA of that one, and it's literally probably just like the first one or two books, kind of, which is not bad too. Like that's kind of cool because you do get to just see it like that. But it is kind of nice that it's like, oh, this is like a standalone little story that kind of almost acts as like a sort of a teaser promo. So it's like, hey, if you dug this, guess what? There's, you know 2,000 pages more that you could go read almost, you know. And the nice thing too is the manga's not like, it's probably not even that long. It's one of those ones where it's not like so long that you're like, dude, this thing's fucking dragging on. Because that's always kind of my issue in so many mangas. It's like they start off great for like the first 3 to 5 books, and then you kind of realize they get to a point, and I get it. You're working on a comic book, you have this fucking hard deadline and everything like that. You get to the point you're like, fuck it, they're gonna fight each other for the next like year and a half. I don't care. That's at least I know what I'm coming in.
Arc or some shit like that.
Yeah, because that happens in so many of them where it's just like all of a sudden it's just like, guess what? We had this adventure story going on, but I can't. I got no more adventure in me anymore. That was fucking killed. So we're just gonna have the main character just fight, pretty much do a Dragon Ball Z long battle for like an entire book, and that's it. What are you drawing today? I'm drawing 3 punches and a kick. What are you drawing tomorrow? 3 kicks and a punch. I'll figure it out by Wednesday. No, like that. That's it. So
a Kaioken after that.
Yeah, the cool thing, that's gonna change it up. That's gonna get them back in. But the nice thing about Gunsmith Cats is that one actually, in whatever the 8 books that there is in the original series, like it goes real smooth, and it's got a lot of different stories in it that kind of carry on. And as I said, it gets kind of hard-boiled, has the mixed match of 80s, but then also 70s grit, because it will get dark. That's the thing, is it gets brutal. People really do die. There is there's tragedy and everything like that, where it still carries a similar vibe as this, but this one kind of it's the fun movie version, you know, where the manga can kind of go in a lot of different directions. Granted, it's got the time for it, you know.
I've seen all the anime of this, but apparently the manga goes on just a little bit longer. It kind of reminded me of like Black Lagoon.
Yes.
So this sort of like Black Lagoon seems like the harder edge version of this, but I don't mind the more upbeat, like chill, kind of cuter version of what it is. So I wouldn't mind actually eventually reading Black Lagoon manga, which I think goes on. I think the anime covered most of it, but the manga, I don't think the manga is still going on. I think that eventually did end, but I think it goes on for another like arc or two. And then there's
there's only like 9 or 10 books of Black Lagoon, because I've literally had that saved on my wish list forever. I'm like, one of these days I'm just gonna read it, because even sometimes, even if it is like the same premise as like the anime, I still enjoy almost reading it, because it's almost like you'll get like a slightly different interpretation when you sometimes read the book. It's kind of like even just reading Dragon Ball, the manga. Like it is kind of, it's like you get like an alternative way of watching it in a sense.
Well, I just started Sakamoto Days, the anime.
That's a good one,
and I'm liking the anime. I'm only like 3 or 4 books into the actual manga, which isn't that far, but I will say sometimes I feel like the manga just feels better, just pops more, sometimes. And I mean, the Sakamoto Days, nothing really wrong with it, but just I think it is one of those ones where it's better as a manga than an anime so far. Maybe my mind will change, where I think Chainsaw Man, I want to read the manga, but the anime is very like well made and very like a lot of effort and thought goes into that. So
yeah, I'll personally say this. I am one of those kind of people that if I could only choose one or the other, I will generally take the manga version. I like being able just to read it. I just feel like you're getting the more pure. It's like, in a sense, one person and a couple assistants and so on. So it's not a committee putting it together. And sometimes then also when you read stuff, you can technically go through it a little bit faster, I guess you would say, than watching it. But Sakamoto Days is a pretty darn good one, because I got that like literally when the first book came out in the U.S. I will say it is one of those ones after about maybe book 5 or 6, it does start to, it's not bad, but it just kind of like not as exciting as it was it's like almost like one of those ones, all the fresh ideas are kind of gone and now they're just sort of running with shit, Gotcha. Just because I'm about 4 books behind by this point. I'm like, maybe I'll pick them up at some point. Just it keeps going on. I'm like, is it gonna if it ended at like at book 18 or something like that, I'd be like, yeah, I'll just fucking read it to the end. But sometimes it's one of those ones like, I hope it just doesn't become one of those ones that goes to like book 30 plus or whatever. Like sometimes most things don't need to go that long. I think that like Hellsing's the perfect example. Like what's it got, 10 books? Like perfect length.
It has 10 bucks.
Yeah, perfect length. Like it's if it went on any farther, it would probably just drag itself out. But like at 10 books, you're like, that's all you need. You know what I mean?
I'm kind of like, and don't get me wrong, people say it's one of the biggest, most important books out there. It was kind of funny because when it was coming out, I was like, what's this wacky pirate bullshit? And then all of a sudden we jump like 10 years later, not even 10 years, like maybe like 5-10 years later. And then like suddenly like One Piece, because like, One Piece, the anime, came out when we were like near the end of high school. So I didn't really know anything about it. I just like, what's this wacky pirate shit? Whatever. And then like, people like One Piece, and then I just turn my back one day. Everybody but me knows about One Piece and loves One Piece, and I'm not gonna say like, "Hey man, Dragon Ball's better," like I probably would have back then, because it's been going on longer than Dragon Ball, or maybe just about as long as Dragon Ball by this point.
It's got more episodes technically. I know that, and more books.
And so I'm kind of like, well, shit. I mean, I haven't read it to say, and I hear a lot of people talk about it, but I'm like, that sounds like a fucking time and like a huge investment of time. How many fucking books are going in? And apparently some huge things. Everything I learned about One Piece, I learned about through just people posting randomly on Instagram. Like, be an artist I like, and all of a sudden like they'll post like a drawing of a new character from One Piece, or like a new form Luffy has. And I'll be like, oh, okay. People are like, dude, you don't get it. He now has the ability to like morph reality as is. So it's kind of like he has like these Looney Tune physics, and he can change the world around him. It's fucking crazy, man. And all this shit just happened. And like right now they're saying, this is just the beginning. Like, this is just the beginning? This shit's been going on 20 fucking years. This shit's just the fucking beginning, dude. I got shit to do. I don't want to fucking, I don't know, man. I'll take your word on it. Like.
Well, the weird thing is that's literally, I think that came out the same year as Cowboy Bebop, if you want to, that's fucking weird. Yeah. I mean, in the U.S., of course, it came out a lot later, but I want to say they both came out in Japan in 98. Yeah.
Well, even Dragon Ball, like I like Dragon Ball, but I'm not like, I don't feel like I have a strong desire to keep up with every new Dragon Ball anymore. If like a movie comes out, I'll check out the movie, but like a lot of it, I'm like, I don't know. Like Super came out, I was liking it, but I'm like, I'll get back to this. And now Daima's coming out, and then there's something like I don't know. I'm just kind of like, I'll get to it when I get to it, you know.
Yeah, so there's this that thing where it's like, you know, I could just go, I'll be perfectly, if I never watch anything else but Dragon Ball to the end of like the Cell Saga, I'd be, that's perfect. That's the perfect, everything in there, it's all good, you know, even if there is some, you know, some extended battles and so on like that, but like, I like all that stuff. It's classic to me. I'll totally enjoy it. You know, it's not saying that the Boo Saga is not good, but you could kind of tell that like the Cell Saga was supposed to be kind of the end, and then they're like, no, fucking Akira, you get your ass back in there. There is fucking money to be made. You figure out another fucking store. I don't give a fuck what it is. Those fucking idiots out there are gonna buy whatever you put your fucking name on anyway, so it doesn't matter.
It does feel like it should have ended at Cell when I think back on it. It feels like it should have. You know what I mean? Main character dies for one final time, has his son picks up the torch.
Yeah. It kind of has that because even Boo, it's like when you think about Boo, kind of that arc sort of runs sort of just like Cell, but like alternative Cell in a sense. Like that's kind of how it feels. It's like, as I said, it's not bad. It's just like it just feels like it's like sort of tacked on, and you can kind of feel it.
And it's kind of like Gohan starts off as the main character, then his dad kind of comes in and like, get out of the way, son. I got to be the main character now. Like, okay, Dad, and then like he has to go back to like his time on Earth is out because it was only for like 24 hours or whatever. Because it's like, okay, Dad, well, enjoy heaven.
He literally got like a day pass.
Yeah. Enjoy heaven. I guess I'll figure this out now. It's like, you're the main character again, Gohan. Like, okay, cool. Oh, you fucked that up. And like, Goku and Vegeta have to come in and save the day again. So it's like, yeah, it was kind of a little back and forth,
But you know, as I said, going back to Gunsmith Cats, like that one runs at that nice, you know, because you know that's the thing about One Piece. It's like that's so long that like, you know, I remember when it first came out. You know, I watched an episode or two on there, and it was one of those ones I kind of tell like, if this would have probably came out in '98. I probably would have been all over it, but it waited a little too long, and by this point, I was now into things like Full Metal Alchemist and so on like that. So One Piece kind of felt like I was kind of stepping back to like, you know, it'd be like trying to watch Monster Rancher while being a teenager. You know, it's like asking a little bit of fucking, you know, I could watch that, you know, in '98 totally fine. You know, '99 whenever the heck it came out in the U.S. But yeah, it was kind of a, you know what I mean. You're like, One Piece sort of felt like it was a 10-year-old's kind of anime. Comparatively, I think it's a little bit more than that as time has gone on.
It evolved. Well, also you got to keep in mind we had the 4Kids entertainment version that came to America, and then on top of that, it evolved or it grew up with its audience more and more because it's still happening. I never kept up with it. I know that I just know the bare bones, and you know, I hope the show, like, I'm glad people still like it. I'm glad it's like still recognized and all that. And I know that I don't know. There's too much to catch up on. I feel like there's just because everyone says like, dude, it's so big. Once you get into it, it's one of the greatest things ever. Like, you know, I think it looks kind of silly, but I mean, I'm sure it's good once I get into it. I'm sure there's something good about it, you know.
Well, it's a weird one that, like, I feel like everybody only has, like, a slot in their life for a couple of those type of, like, epic giant shows. And ours was sort of taken up by Dragon Ball. So it's kind of like, I hate to sort of say it, when Dragon Ball sort of took that slot already, nothing else is probably going to fill in that, like, oh, shit, here's my long epic journey show that, you know what I mean? It's like we already sort of got that experience, and you could sometimes only really get that once, maybe twice, at the maximum, probably a third time, you know. So I'm sure it's. I mean, I remember fucking Kyle watched the movie and he's like, "Dude, that was pretty fucking good. I liked it." I was like, you went out of the way to go watch that? He's like, "Yeah."
You would to watch the One Piece movie?
The One Piece movie,
like the one that
I think the Netflix one.
Oh, that's the live action show. Okay, no, that's not a movie. There was
it's a show. Okay.
There's like one or two One Piece movies that went to theaters. Actually, one of those like, you know, special, like, you know, those things where like they do gangbusters for like a week or something, and every critic is like, "What the fuck is going on?" But it makes like a lot of money because like it goes on for like a week or two. There's like a One Piece movie that came out. It looked like Kyle just
Leonard Maltin just fucking sitting in the movie theater like, "I'm getting too old for this shit."
He's having like a 2001 Space Odyssey seizure, just like looking at the screen.
That's all I picture is that Leonard Maltin, because he's like, I'm the guy who has to watch every single movie. You know, he's fucking at some of those, and like, you know, just like I picture Leonard Maltin probably had to go watch the fucking Digimon movie in theaters because he's like,
yeah, it's in his book.
The people are expecting me to fucking write this review.
I just imagine him going to see, because like that's the thing, because like they're at that point where they have like, because I double toasted reviewed one of the one, I'm not sure if it's like how many went to actually theaters here, but like one went to theaters, double toasted reviewed it, and it was like two people. It was like a guy who's all into it, who like loves it, who only like reviews part-time, but he's
is
like,
this One Piece or is this Digimon?
One Piece.
Okay.
And then Corey, who like knows of One Piece, just like, I want to just go check it out. Like, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I mean, I have appreciation for the animation, and the action was crazy and all that. I mean, I'll be honest, the last half of this thing is just a big, giant anime spectacle, which was cool, but like, I don't like, he had the same thing. He reviewed Dragon Ball. Like, he reviewed Broly, the Broly one, and he was just like, here's the thing with Dragon Ball, with me and Dragon Ball. I don't know much about Dragon Ball, but Dragon Ball is kind of like that friend I meet up with every couple of years, and when we party hard, but we can only do it so often because I can't keep up, you know? So it's just like, we have a good time. Me and Dragon Ball, we go out, we'll have a good time, but at some point, like, man, you're too much for me. I can't fucking keep up. He was like talking about the Broly movie. He was just saying, like, I just enjoyed it on the action and animation aspect. At some point, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You know, and I think that's the thing, how a lot of these, like, and that's someone who's like, I mean, he's like in his 50s, but that's someone, he's not Leonard Maltin age. So that's like, imagine someone like Leonard Maltin going into watching Dragon Super Broly or whatever and trying to process this shit.
I got a new book I gotta write every year. This is like some Greek fucking tragedy that I gotta do now.
You're like, okay, he goes to his assistant, like, okay, what's on the docket today? What movies are we gonna go see? Okay, we got a French film about depression. Okay, cool. We got a new Robert Zemeckis movie. All right, cool. We got a couple of documentaries. Okay, cool. And Demon Slayer, Train to Zimbabwe. Like, sure.
Fucking start with the Demon Slayer. You know what? If we're gonna party, we're gonna, you know, get me some drugs, and I'll see if I can finish this off.
I don't know if it's called. There's one set on a fucking train. I don't even know what it's called. I think it's Train something, but yeah. Yeah. Well, at
the end of the day, that's why I kind of like. I like my animes to be at that, what I call the nice length, you know, and generally what I always say is the best example of that is Cowboy Bebop. I know that's like the easy go-to one, but like 26 episodes, if you want, there's a couple of alternative like mangas that are out there that kind of have their own little run of stories, but that's kind of it, you know what I mean? It's same thing with Black Lagoons in that style, Samurai Champloo, and it's like this Gunsmith Cats one. Now, granted, this Gunsmith Cats one could have more. That would be kind of neat because it's only 3 episodes. And if you realistically take the titles and credits and all that kind of stuff out of it, it probably ends up being maybe about just shy over an hour, you know, in total.
I do feel like sometimes some of that anime, because not everybody, you get people who have a respect and appreciation for like older things every so often, or the retroness of it. But sometimes you'll hear people talk about who are really in anime, like, man, Cowboy Bebop was just too boring. I'm like, okay. How many jobs have you had so far? I've only had 1 job. Okay, give it time. All right, cool. You know, there's just one of those things where it's just like, it's just like, I feel like you gotta like, I don't want to sound like condescending, but I feel like sometimes some anime, like, if it doesn't have like, if it's not like force feeding you all this exposition and spoon feeding to you like you're a fucking toddler in a high chair. Like, I think sometimes you'll just get used to that with fucking anime, and I feel like sometimes you get something like Cowboy Bebop. I know, to me, it's my personal favorite. I know it's not everybody's, but I feel like sometimes it's just like, I'm sorry, are you mad this thing's treating you like a fucking adult? You know, like, yeah, it's, you know, I don't know. That's just how I feel sometimes.
Well, I do think there's probably a little bit of that, like with Cowboy Bebop, because, you know, obviously,
on my end, I'll say, yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, if you watch Cowboy Bebop, of course, and like, you know, when it came out, whatever, in 2000 in the U.S. on fucking Toonami or Adult Swim, like, nobody was fucking bitching back then, because that was like almost like that was literally like watching a fucking Stanley Kubrick movie coming out and you're going, holy fuck. It's like 2001 Space Odyssey almost. Like if you saw that in fucking 68 or whatever, you're like, get the fuck out. Like this is fucking mind blowing. But then sometimes I think people later on are like, we got fucking Star Wars and all that stuff. I don't get that 2001 Space Odyssey thing. There's like 40 minutes of monkeys at the beginning. Like what was that all about? You know what I mean? There's a dude, he's walking around in a circle. You're like, dude, you know that's fucking mind-blowing. People don't know how that's fucking still done to this day sometimes. You know, but I think it's sort of that thing too where now people are like, let's be honest, was that Cowboy Bebop really that good? I think there's getting some of that kind of in there, like, because they weren't, once again, they weren't there for the time. It's like one of those ones, like that was kind of a changing point where you finally felt like you got something like super, like other than maybe Ed, you could take this home and show your parents and be like, dude, check this out. I know that like some of these other animes were not up your alley, but this is the one that, you know what I mean? It stands with like literally any kind of movie.
Well, I guess it's also something to the effect of like, when I first saw Cowboy Bebop, I liked it, but it wasn't my favorite. It became my favorite when I rewatched it. And, I saw it, I liked it. And then I eventually got the DVDs and I just rewatched them. And then there's just something that clicked. It clicked probably when I was like mid-20s or so. I just liked it a lot more. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, there's just things kind of stack up about it. And you realize how like smart it is and how much, there is some of the anime over exposition in some points, but not to the degree of other anime. So I guess when I hear someone say like how much they like whatever fucking isekai of the month comes out, but then they're like, Cowboy Bebop's boring. It's just so like, it's just people hanging out on the ship. You're like, all right, go take your fucking Adderall,
Yeah. And they're smoking. You know how bad that is for you? You're making me want to have a cigarette right now. Just that fucking attitude.
In my life quicker in this conversation. Sometimes you get this, you're at a bar and like somebody will be having a conversation with you and like someone's going like, oh, I'm going to get a cigarette. I'll go with you. You don't smoke. You're just like, I'm smoking now for this, So.
Yeah, I need to literally escape this place. So, but and then that's also, I feel like Gunsmith,
Sorry, I made all about the other anime. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. Well, it kind of ties in because I do think it's like if you do dig that kind of stuff like Black Lagoon and if you like Cowboy Bebop. And I didn't say
a lot of Bebop. They remind me of Bebop a lot.
Yeah, it feels like it fits into that kind of quadrant of animes. And I always called the section of animes, that are in a sense the 20 and up animes, once you kind of become a fucking adult, like that kind. Because I feel like generally if you could break down animes into like simple terms, there's generally like three major areas for the most part. You kind of have what I always call give or take 10-year-old animes. I know there's actually even younger ones too, but we'll forget about that part. But give or take 10-year-old animes. Then there's sort of the give or take 15-year-old animes, and then there's like the 20 and up kind of. And I feel like it sums it up pretty easy. You could almost say, as much as the 10-year-old animes, being like Pokemon, Digimon, that kind of stuff there. The 15-year-old ones being more like, okay, now you're maybe more you're like Full Metal Alchemist, Attack on Titan, yeah, stuff like that. And then I feel like the 20 and ups when you start to hit things like Black Lagoon, Gunsmith Cats, Appleseed, those kind of things.
I feel like Attack on Titan wants to be like something more aimed at 20-year-olds, but I feel like watching it, I feel like it is more like 15, 16-year-olds,
Yeah, and it's not saying that you can't
it's like bad.
It's not saying anything against stuff like that, but it's kind of like their target demographic in a sense. Easy kids, teenagers, adults. That's the sum of it. I know it breaks up into more categories than that, but that's kind of the basic one of it. And always the easiest thing to do is like, who's your main character in it? Oh yeah, well, what's his fucking age? That's the fucking demographic. What I mean? It's like it's pretty fucking simple to figure out. How old is Ash? He's 10 years old. Guess what? That's a fucking demographic right there. Fucking Full Metal Alchemist. How old is Ed? I think he's like fucking 15 or something like in that, give or take. It's like there's your fucking demographic. It's made for that. And how old is fucking Jet? He's 55. That's your fucking demographic.
You're just watching Jet like, I got a mortgage to pay. Yeah. I got back problems. Okay, I can relate to this.
Yeah, you know. So, but yeah, as I said, Gunsmith Cats is a cool one. You can watch it on YouTube since people nicely upload it in good quality and so on like that. I know you can always go on eBay and stuff. And the other kind of cool thing about nowadays too is if you do want physical media of it, they do have good copies that like will be like, here's the full collection, you know, for a reasonable price, you know, maybe $15 on, you know, DVD or Blu-ray or whatever the heck you want. Even for other stuff too, it's like, because I've bought some sets where it's like, here's the entire fucking, you know, edition of everything. Like I got one because I just kind of was doing that thing where I'm like, I just want to have some of like those shows that I pretty much watched in like the 90s and 2000s and just have the whole collection of them just on physical media. You know, I know it's getting easier and easier to find stuff, of course, streaming nowadays and so on. But, you know, some of those ones, like I want all my American cartoons that I always liked, like, you know, generally all the Hanna-Barbera stuff, like SWAT Cats, Johnny Quest, all that kind of stuff. Of course, Batman, Superman, so on. And then I was like, the other ones I kind of want some of those anime ones. So I got the whole Dragon Ball Z one. I got, of course, Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, Outlaw Star. We're speaking of that one. And then I bought like the Sailor Moon one that was just like, here's every fucking Sailor Moon thing just jammed onto fucking 15 discs. Get ready to have no more free time this year. Sailor Moon. Ooh, yeah. You're like, oh, that's just how fucking that's how you're gonna sell it? Yeah, we got Macho Man Randy Savage to come sell some Sailor Moon for you guys.
Dubbing every character. He dubs everything. He dubs Tuxedo Mask. He dubs Serena. He dubs Luna.
I just like it's like, oh, I woke up late again. No.
Serena, what are you doing? You're supposed to go to school today. Shut up, Luna. I know. Serena, yes, Mom. Oh, I really want to fuck Tuxedo Mask. Hey, Serena. Oh, hey, Tuxedo Mask. Hey, Mary Moon. Oh, hey. Did you know I'm your daughter from the future? Oh, really? Oh, fuck.
That's fucking weird. Wait, so that mean I fucked some Tuxedo Mask? Yeah, you fucking did. Fucking slaps a high five.
Fucking like just like the Sailor Jupiter and Uranus comes in like, hey, we're not cousins in this version. Was it Jupiter and Uranus? I forgot. Jupiter, or was it?
Well,
Jupiter
yeah,
was the tomboy. Uranus and
no, Jupiter's the tomboy one with the brown hair.
Yeah. Who are the? Because in the one for kids TV, like
the dick
cousins.
Version. Yeah,
You know,
I think so.
Yeah, they're cousins. Like who was it? It was Uranus and who else?
It might have been the two green-haired ones because there's a Pluto. Because that's the only thing that always kind of bothers me.
Pluto
There's two
and
of them.
Uranus. I think it was Pluto and Uranus.
I think Uranus has the blonde hair, the short blonde hair, if I'm not mistaken. I always kind of forget on like the second generation Sailor Scouts. I always get a little bit confused on those ones because I haven't watched as much of that stuff as I have like the original.
I watched it. I'm not gonna lie. I watched it like while waiting for Pokemon. That's how I kind of knew about it. Like I'm waiting for Pokemon. Might as well get like half chubbed watching. Like you know, you're. I was in the 4th grade or whatever. So I'm waiting for Pokemon. I might as well get half chubbed watching fucking Sailor Moon or whatever. You know, like oh Sailor Mars is gonna hot whatever. You know, and then like. I think once it went over to WB, I'm like, oh, so long, Sailor Moon. But I just going off what I remember of it, it was like, yeah, they had the two cousins. Even as a kid, I was like, those aren't cousins. You know,
Yeah.
Some regional shit happened there. Even as a kid, you didn't have to have like the jerk off Johnny tell you like, oh yeah, in the anime they have a whole episode where they're just scissoring for like 23 minutes straight. You know, like. Oh, he said it, so it must be true.
Yeah, it must be true. You know, he lives in a double wide trailer that happens to have stairs for some reason built into it. I don't think that was by code.
The Randy Macho Man Savage episode, like, oh yeah, we're scissoring. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Zach.
Is awesome.
Yeah, no, I remember because the weird thing was Sailor Moon is like when I think about it, that was actually one of the first animes that was really brought to the U.S. kind of like, because it came out way before everything else. I almost want to say it appeared on some weird station like USA or something. I might just be making up the station, but like ABC even or something like that. Maybe that's what it popped up on, because I remember seeing it in like '94, like, and it predated Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon and all like the ones that kind of felt like they started the anime boom in the U.S. You know, of course, we always had like stuff that you could order from catalogs and comic books and so on like that. You know, but you had to kind of go out of your way for that stuff, and I felt like that was kind of geared towards people that had money. You know, they weren't just putting them on TV. But Sailor Moon was literally thrown in. It was just that one where it's like, just sprinkle it in with these other American cartoons, and they might not notice that there's something different about it. You know, just pop it in between, and then I remember then it kind of came on Cartoon Network. You know, later on, and you could watch it like it was like on the Toonami block where it's like Gundam Wing and, you know, Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon and all that stuff, kind of all like in a row, with like, you know, some of those older like 70s ones too, like fucking Gotcha Man, whatever the fuck they call it. What do they call that in the US though?
Yeah, Voltron too.
Yeah, Voltron and all that stuff. But yeah, so Sailor Moon was always that one that I fucking always loved that anyways. And I used to watch, it was like that one that like you went to school, it's like you didn't really tell anybody, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, did you like watching Sailor Moon? Like, yeah, I fucking like watching Sailor Moon. Like, yeah, we fucking all like watching Sailor Moon. Okay, cool. As long as it's all okay then. I wasn't too sure how anyone's gonna take that, but doesn't fucking matter. It pairs nicely with Dragon Ball Z, you know. And a smooth cup of Surge.
You throw in a little bit of that estrogen with the testosterone, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, okay. Well, it's a fun little anime discussion. So once again, check out Gunsmith Cats. It's so worth watching. It's one of those ones, kind of like I would say a definite hidden gem of both anime and manga that you know, I just don't feel like everybody's kind of seeing. But once you do see it, you're like, oh shit, this is fucking great, you know. And just came out that time period where once again, it was just a little too rated R to be shown, of course, like on something like Cartoon Network and so on like that. So it kind of got stuck to like, hey, you pretty much had to be like a 25-year-old who had some expendable fucking cash, a fucking credit card, and, you know, you bought your own comics. Like, in a sense, you had to be at that point. You pretty much had to be like a Kevin Smith, I guess, like right before he makes Clerks kind of era. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like that's the kind of people that would have probably known about Gunsmith Cats and so on at that time period. But yeah, it's cool. Check it out. Beyond all that, I'll put the Linktree description in to all our other good podcasts, comic books, and all the other fun stuff we've done over the years. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Zonigan.
And we'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.